The courtroom was already buzzing before the cameras even rolled, but the moment the defendant walked in, the smirk, the sunglasses, the swagger, the room went silent. Judge Judy looked up from her papers, unimpressed. "You can take the glasses off, sir. This isn't a music video." The man chuckled. "They're prescription, ma'am." Her eyes narrowed. "They're mirrored aviators. Unless you've developed a medical condition called ego, I suggest you remove them." He hesitated, then slid them off with a slow grin, tossing them on the table. The audience murmured. His name was Tyler Ross, 25, dressed like a discount influencer in a designer hoodie and gold chain. Across from him sat Emily, his ex-girlfriend, calm, pale, clutching a phone like it was her last line of defense. The case was simple on paper. Emily accused Tyler of damaging her property, breaking her phone, and threatening her after a heated argument. But in reality, everyone in the courtroom could sense this wasn't just about a phone. It was about humiliation, manipulation, and the truth she finally brought into daylight. "Let's begin," Judy said, her tone sharp as glass. "Ms. Daniels, you're suing for $2,000, the cost of a new phone, emotional distress, and property damage, correct?" Emily nodded softly. "Yes, Your Honor." "Mr. Ross," Judy turned, "you deny this ever happened." Tyler leaned back in his chair, smirked again. "I didn't touch her. Didn't touch her phone. She dropped it. End of story." Emily's eyes filled, but she stayed quiet. Judy's voice cut through. "So you're saying she made the entire thing up? For what? To spend her afternoon in court?" "She's obsessed," Tyler said, shrugging. "She can't handle that I moved on." A few gasps came from the audience. Judy leaned forward slowly. "You're telling me she's here under oath, in front of television cameras, to fake a broken phone because she's still in love with you?" Tyler's grin widened. "That's exactly what I'm saying." Emily finally spoke, her voice trembling but clear. "I have proof, Your Honor. I recorded everything. He doesn't know that." Tyler's smirk faltered. "Wait, what?" Judy's eyebrows lifted. "Oh, now that's interesting." The room buzzed again. Even the bailiff, Bird, crossed his arms with a half-smile, knowing where this was going. "Ms. Daniels," Judy said, motioning with her hand, "start from the beginning, slowly." Emily took a deep breath. "He came to my apartment that night because I asked him to pick up the last of his things. He was angry I'd packed them in trash bags." Judy tilted her head. "Why trash bags?" Emily's lip trembled. "Because he cheated. On me. With my roommate." A ripple of whispers tore through the audience. Tyler rolled his eyes. "Oh, come on." Judy snapped. "Quiet! You'll speak when I address you." He raised his hands mockingly. "Yes, ma'am." Emily continued. "He said I embarrassed him. He yelled, threw his keys, and then he grabbed my phone because I was filming him." Tyler interjected. "That's not true. She attacked me." Judy slammed her pen down. "You will wait your turn, Mr. Ross." The silence that followed was deafening. Judy looked at Emily. "You said you have the video?" Emily nodded, her fingers trembling as she unlocked her phone. "It's all right here." Tyler's confidence cracked. "You can't just... That's illegal." "Illegal?" Judy shot back. "You're being sued on national television, and your best argument is that you got caught illegally?" Laughter rippled through the audience. Tyler's jaw tightened. "This is ridiculous. She's twisting everything." She didn't look at him. "Bird, please have her phone connected to the monitor." The bailiff took the phone carefully. Emily whispered, "It's the second video in the folder labeled Proof." Bird nodded. The screen behind the judge flickered to life. Tyler leaned forward, his voice dropping. "You don't need to play that." "Oh, I absolutely do," Judy said, her tone low and deliberate. The audience leaned in. Emily's video began with shaky footage, a dimly lit apartment, raised voices, a man pacing. Tyler's voice echoed. You're pathetic, Emily. You think anyone's gonna believe you. The camera jostled. A crash. A loud slap. Emily's voice gasping. Stop! You broke my phone! The video froze right there. Judy sat perfectly still, eyes on Tyler. That you? He swallowed. That's edited. She raised an eyebrow. Edited? On what? A Hollywood soundstage? A few people laughed. Judy leaned forward. Mr. Ross, let me make this clear. That video will be analyzed frame by frame. If it's fake, I'll know. But if it's real, and you've just lied under oath, your problems are about to multiply. Tyler's bravado was gone. I didn't mean to. Don't finish that sentence unless you're ready to tell the truth. The tension was so thick, you could hear the buzz of the lights above. Judy turned to Emily, voice softer. Ms. Daniels, thank you. We'll replay this in a moment, but before we continue, she looked directly at the camera, deadpan. If you can't believe what just happened, hit that subscribe button, because trust me, it's about to get worse. The audience murmured, waiting, and Judy said calmly, roll it again. Let's watch that in slow motion. The courtroom lights dimmed slightly as the video replayed in slow motion. Every frame seemed heavier than the last. You could hear the faint hum of the camera, the echo of raised voices, and the unmistakable crack of something breaking. Tyler shifted in his seat, his leg bouncing under the table. Judy's eyes were locked on the monitor, unblinking. Emily sat perfectly still, one hand gripping the arm of her chair. On the screen, Tyler's reflection flashed across a mirror in the background, clear as day. Stop, Judy ordered, and the bailiff paused the video. Zoom in on that frame. The audience gasped. It was his face, twisted in anger, mouth open mid-yell. Judy leaned forward, her voice like ice. That's you, Mr. Ross. He stammered. I don't know what that is. It's dark. It's dark? Judy cut him off. Not dark enough to hide that gold chain you're wearing right now. Laughter bubbled through the crowd. Tyler clenched his jaw. This is being taken out of context. Out of context? Judy repeated. You breaking her phone, calling her names, and shouting that no one would believe her is out of context? He crossed his arms. She provoked me. The courtroom buzzed again, half in shock, half in disgust. Judy tilted her head. How exactly does one provoke you into grabbing their phone and smashing it? She was filming me without permission, he snapped. So, Judy said, leaning back in her chair, you decided to punish her phone instead of walking out the door. The room laughed again, but there was no humor in Judy's tone. Let's be clear, you didn't hit her. No, he said quickly, too quickly. Because, she said, tapping her pen, the sound in that video didn't come from the phone hitting the floor. That was flesh on flesh. A ripple of gasps. Tyler's eyes darted around. Emily spoke up softly. He slapped me. Judy looked right at her. I believe you. Then she turned back to Tyler. But I don't decide on belief alone. I decide on facts, and right now, the facts are turning against you faster than you can blink. Tyler looked like he wanted to disappear. His swagger had melted into something much smaller, much meaner. Emily continued, her voice shaking but determined. After that, he left. The next day, he sent me messages saying I'd ruined his life. Judy raised an eyebrow. You have those messages? Emily nodded. Yes, ma'am, right here. She held out a printout. Bird carried it over to the bench. Judy scanned the first page. Her eyes narrowed, her lips pressed thin. "Read this one out loud," she said, pointing to the second paragraph. Emily swallowed hard. "You're done, Emily. Nobody's gonna believe your little victim act. I'll make sure you regret ever crossing me." The courtroom fell silent. Tyler slouched in his chair, muttering, "That's not how I meant it." Judy looked up slowly. "Then how did you mean it, Mr. Ross? Because the English language is quite straightforward." He didn't answer. "Let me guess," Judy said. "You were just expressing yourself artistically?" The audience erupted in laughter. Even Bird cracked a grin. Judy leaned forward again, her tone sharper. "I've been doing this a long time, Mr. Ross. I've seen every excuse in the book, but yours might be the weakest I've heard this month." Tyler's smirk vanished. "You don't know me," he muttered. "I don't need to," she said. "The evidence speaks louder than your attitude ever could." Judy turned to Emily. "Miss Daniels, how long were you two together?" "About a year and a half," Emily said softly. "The first few months were perfect. He was charming, generous. Then he started getting jealous, checking my phone, showing up unannounced." Judy nodded slowly. "Classic pattern." Emily nodded too. "When I tried to break up with him, he said no one leaves him. He said I'd be sorry." Tyler barked a laugh. "Oh, come on, that's dramatic. I didn't mean it like—" Judy slammed her hand down. The sound echoed. "Do you ever stop talking? Every time you open your mouth, you dig yourself deeper." The audience applauded. Tyler sank into his seat. Judy looked down at the papers again. "So, to recap, you admit you were there, you admit there was an argument, and you admit you were angry." He hesitated. "Yes." "And yet," Judy said, her voice cutting, "you expect me to believe you did nothing wrong?" He looked at the floor. "I didn't hit her." Judy nodded slowly. "Then I suppose you won't mind if we bring in a little help to verify that." Tyler looked up confused. "What do you mean?" She smiled slightly. "Because it turns out your neighbor saw everything, and he's waiting right outside." The crowd gasped again, a collective ooh. Tyler's face went pale. "What neighbor?" "Mr. Jenkins," Judy said calmly, "the gentleman who called the police after hearing a loud argument and a woman crying." Emily's hands flew to her mouth. "He actually came?" "Oh, he did," Judy said, "and he's about to testify." Bird opened the door, motioning someone in. The audience murmured as an older man, gray-haired with a steady expression, stepped forward. He nodded respectfully to Judy. "Mr. Jenkins," she said, "you witnessed the events on the night in question." "Yes, Your Honor," he said. His voice was calm, but you could feel the weight of what he'd seen. "Please," Judy said, "tell this court what you saw." Tyler's foot tapped under the table, his confidence draining with every second. Mr. Jenkins took a deep breath. "I heard yelling, a man's voice, loud and angry. Then I heard something break and a woman crying. I went to my balcony and saw him, that man right there, storming out of her apartment." The entire courtroom turned to look at Tyler. He muttered under his breath, "He's lying." Judy snapped her eyes to him. "Excuse me?" "He's making this up," Tyler said louder. "He couldn't see inside the apartment." Judy's voice dropped to a cold whisper. "He didn't need to. He heard you, and so did the police when they arrived 5 minutes later." Tyler froze. How do you know that?" Because, Judy said, holding up a document, I have the police report right here. The audience gasped again, louder this time. Emily's eyes welled up. Tyler's jaw clenched, his last bit of swagger collapsing completely. And Judy, in her calmest voice yet, said, "You really should have taken off those sunglasses the moment you walked in, Mr. Ross, because the only reflection I'm seeing right now is of a liar." The room erupted. Tyler sat in stunned silence. Judy tapped her pen once, sharp as a gavel. "Let's continue. This is only the beginning." The courtroom hadn't settled yet. Whispers rippled through the audience like waves after a storm. Even the cameras seemed to hum louder, as if aware something big was coming. Judge Judy took a slow sip of water, eyes fixed on Tyler the whole time. "Mr. Ross," she said finally, her tone cool, "you claimed earlier that you left Emily's apartment calmly after an argument." Tyler swallowed hard. "Yes, that's right." "Then explain this." Bird handed her a tablet. She pressed play. A new clip appeared, short, shaky, filmed from a nearby security camera facing the parking lot. The footage showed Tyler storming down the stairs, phone in hand, throwing something against the wall, then kicking his own car door in frustration. The courtroom gasped. Tyler blinked rapidly. That's not from that night." "Actually," Judy said, tapping the screen, "the timestamp says otherwise. March 8th, 10:43 p.m., the same night Emily called the police." He started to protest, but Judy's voice sliced through him. "Sit down." He froze mid-motion, then dropped into his chair. Emily looked down, tears forming again. The image on the screen said more than any testimony ever could. "Mr. Ross," Judy said, her tone sharp but composed, "you seem to have a very flexible relationship with the truth." "I was angry," he admitted, glaring at the table, "but I didn't hit her." "Oh, we're back to that," Judy muttered, "the refrain of every guilty man who thinks volume equals innocence." The audience murmured, a few nodding, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Judy turned to Emily. "Ms. Daniels, did you send this footage to the police?" "Yes, but it was too dark for them to use at the time. My neighbor helped me get a clearer copy later." "That's called persistence. And it's the reason truth usually wins even when it takes time." Tyler shifted in his seat, muttering something under his breath. Judy's gaze flicked to him. "You want to share that with the rest of us, or just continue whispering your excuses?" He clenched his jaw. "You don't understand. She was obsessed with me." Laughter erupted from the audience. "Obsessed?" Judy said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "She's sitting here terrified, and you think she's obsessed?" "She recorded me without permission." "She recorded you because you scared her." The courtroom went silent again. Tyler scoffed, leaning back. "You're just taking her side because she's crying." That did it. Judy's expression turned to stone. She slowly removed her glasses and set them down. "Mr. Ross, I don't take sides. I take facts. And the facts right now are smothering you." He tried to hold her gaze, but it was like staring into a storm. "You said she hit you first. Where's your proof?" "She didn't leave any marks. She pushed me." "Ah, so your story changes again. First you left peacefully, then you didn't hit her, and now you were the victim of a push. How convenient." The audience laughed again. Tyler's face flushed red. "This is ridiculous. What's ridiculous is your belief that anyone here is buying what you're selling." Emily wiped her eyes quietly. Judy turned to her. "Miss Daniels, after that night, did he contact you again?" "Yes. He called me a dozen times. Then he made fake accounts to message me." Tyler's head snapped up. "That's not true." "Oh, it's not? Because your phone records suggest otherwise." Bird handed her another folder. She flipped it open and read aloud. "Outgoing calls to Ms. Daniels, 12 in 2 days. Text messages, 27. And then we have an Instagram account named Truth Teller Ty." A murmur rippled through the room. Judy turned her gaze back to Tyler. "That you, Mr. Ross?" He hesitated. "No." She smiled faintly. "Interesting. Because this account posted her picture with the caption, 'She ruined my life.'" Laughter mixed with gasps. Tyler's face turned scarlet. "That's freedom of speech." "That's harassment. And in my courtroom, we call it evidence." The tension was suffocating now. Every person in that room was leaning forward, hooked. Tyler slumped in his chair, muttering something. "You're all against me." "No, Mr. Ross. We're against lies. And right now, yours are collapsing like a house of cards." He didn't answer. He couldn't. Judy straightened her notes. "Here's the problem with arrogance," she said, her tone now steady, deliberate. "It makes people believe they can shout down the truth. But you can't out-talk a video. You can't out-smirk a timestamp." The crowd applauded lightly, a rare sound in a courtroom, but Judy didn't stop them. "Ms. Daniels, you've been through a lot, and you had every right to protect yourself." Emily nodded. "I just wanted him to stop." "I understand. And you did the right thing. You gathered proof, you stayed calm, and now you're here." Judy turned her gaze back to Tyler. "You, on the other hand, came in here thinking this was your stage. You wanted a performance. Well, congratulations, you're getting one. But you're not the hero of this story." The audience gasped softly. Tyler stared down at the table, fists clenched. Then quietly, Judy said, "Bird, bring in Exhibit C, the deleted footage." Tyler's head snapped up. "Deleted?" "Oh yes," Judy said, almost smiling. "You thought deleting a video from the cloud would make it vanish forever?" He froze. "How did you—" Judy interrupted. "Ms. Daniels' phone automatically backed up your messages and videos to a shared account. You didn't know that, did you?" Tyler's jaw dropped slightly. Judy gestured to the bailiff. "Play it." The room dimmed again as the new video began. This one wasn't just heated words. It showed Tyler cornering Emily in the kitchen, his tone venomous as he hissed through the speakers. "You're lucky I don't do worse." The crowd erupted. Gasps, outrage, disbelief. Tyler buried his face in his hands. Judy spoke softly but with razor precision. "You said you never hit her. I suppose this was just acting?" He didn't answer. Judy leaned forward. "The only performance I see here is the one you put on for this courtroom." The camera zoomed slightly on her face, calm, composed, yet utterly cutting. "Let me tell you something, Mr. Ross. If you think charm and arrogance are shields, you've already lost. Because in this courtroom, truth always finds its way to the surface." The courtroom applauded lightly, a rare sound in a courtroom, but Judy didn't stop them. Emily's tears fell, but this time they weren't from fear. And as Judy looked down at the stunned defendant, she added one more line, the kind that would echo in every viewer's mind long after the clip ended.
You should have stopped talking while you still had the chance. The gavel came down. Fade to silence.
The courtroom felt heavy, like the air itself had turned solid. Tyler sat completely still, his face pale, his arrogance evaporated. But there was still something in his eyes, that flicker of denial that just wouldn't die. Judge Judy stacked her papers neatly, every motion deliberate, her silence louder than any gavel strike. Then she looked up. "Mr. Ross," she began slowly, "you've seen the videos, you've heard the witness, you've read your own words. Do you still maintain that you never hit her?" Tyler exhaled sharply through his nose. "Yes, I didn't hit her. That's not what that video shows." Judy's eyebrows lifted a fraction. "Not what it shows?" He nodded, grasping at his last thread of defiance. "You can't tell from that angle. It could have been me slamming my hand on the counter." The audience groaned. Some even laughed in disbelief. Judy tilted her head, almost amused. "That's your new story? You were disciplining the counter?" The courtroom erupted in laughter again. Even Bird's mouth twitched. But Judy didn't laugh. Her eyes were locked on Tyler, unblinking. "You think you can talk your way out of evidence. You think tone and posture can rewrite a video file. But that's not how truth works." Tyler looked down. "You're twisting things." "No, Mr. Ross, you twisted them the night you raised your hand, and then tried to twist them again when you came in here thinking you could charm a courtroom." The audience murmured in agreement. Emily sat quietly, her hands clasped, her eyes red but steady. Judy continued, "What I find fascinating, Mr. Ross, is how men like you always underestimate the intelligence of the women you hurt. You thought she'd cry, hide, move on, but she gathered proof. She built a case, and now you're sitting here, still pretending that camera was your friend." Tyler shook his head. "You don't know what it's like." She cut him off instantly. "You're right. I don't know what it's like to bully someone and then play the victim." Applause filled the room. Judy raised her hand slightly, and the noise subsided. "I know exactly what it's like," she continued, "to watch a liar corner themselves with their arrogance. That, Mr. Ross, I've seen too many times to count." Tyler leaned forward. "You're biased. You've made up your mind." Judy smirked. "If that's what helps you sleep at night." Bird handed her a new sheet of paper. Judy scanned it and smiled slightly. "Speaking of sleeping," she said, "let's talk about your text messages from the next morning." Tyler froze. Judy read aloud. "I'm sorry for everything. I lost control. I didn't mean to slap you." Gasps shot through the courtroom. Emily covered her mouth, trembling. Tyler's voice cracked. "That was just me trying to calm her down. I didn't mean—" "You didn't mean to confess?" He fell silent. Judy looked straight at him, her eyes sharp. "Mr. Ross, your words betray you more than any video ever could." The crowd buzzed again. Emily whispered, "That's the text I showed the police." "Yes, and it's now part of the record," Judy confirmed. She glanced toward Tyler again. "You really should stop writing apologies for things you swear you didn't do. It sends mixed signals." The laughter this time was cruel, sharp, collective, cathartic. Judy sat back, folding her hands. "Now, before I issue any decision, I want to make sure I have all the information." She paused. "Bird, please bring in our next witness." Tyler blinked, confused. "Next witness?" Judy smiled faintly. "Yes, Mr. Ross. Apparently you weren't quite as discreet as you thought. Someone else has something to say about the way you handle anger." The doors opened. A young woman stepped in, early 20s, nervous but composed. Tyler's face turned ghost white. "Rachel?" Emily whispered. Tyler's voice cracked. No, she's not. Miss Rachel Price, you dated Mr. Ross last year, correct? Rachel nodded. For about 6 months. Tyler's jaw clenched. She's lying. We never dated. Rachel looked at him, tears forming. You said you loved me. The audience gasped. Judy's eyebrows shot up. Oh, this just got interesting. Rachel continued, her voice trembling. I didn't want to get involved, but when I saw the story online about Emily's case, I recognized the same behavior. The yelling, the name-calling, the threats. Tyler jumped up. She's crazy. Sit down, Judy barked, and he did, instantly. Rachel wiped her eyes. He broke my phone, too, said I embarrassed him. The courtroom went dead silent. Judy looked down at her papers, then back up. Mr. Ross, do you want to deny that as well? Tyler's hands trembled. She's doing this for attention. Judy's voice was calm but razor sharp. The only attention she's getting is from the people who've watched you lie for the last hour. Rachel reached into her purse and handed something to Bird. She said, I kept this. He smashed it, but the photos are still backed up. Tyler's eyes widened. No, that's... Judy held up her hand. Enough. She turned to the audience. You know, I've handled thousands of cases, but the arrogance on display here is something special. This young man thought he could outsmart everyone, his exes, the police, and this court. The audience murmured in agreement. Judy continued, her tone icy. What he forgot is that lies rot from the inside out. They start small, a denial here, an excuse there, and by the time the truth shows up, they've already fallen apart. She looked directly at Tyler. And today, you've fallen apart. He didn't speak, couldn't. Judy sighed softly, setting down her pen. You wanted control, Mr. Ross, but what you got was exposure. The courtroom erupted in soft applause again, emotional, heavy, satisfying. Judy raised her hand for silence. We're not done yet, she said, because there's one more piece of this puzzle, and it's going to show, once and for all, what really happened that night. Tyler lifted his head slowly, eyes wide. What do you mean? Judy looked at Bird. Play the enhanced version of the kitchen video. The room dimmed. The video started again. Same scene, same fear. But this time, the audio was crystal clear. Tyler's voice came through like a whip. You record me again, and I swear. Then the sound. A slap. Loud. Undeniable. The crowd gasped so hard it felt like the air was sucked out of the room. Emily turned away, trembling. Rachel covered her mouth. And Judy, calm, poised, said only 4 words. I rest my case. The gavel struck. Fade out. The sound of the gavel still echoed when Judy leaned back in her chair. The courtroom was silent. No shuffling, no whispers. Just the heavy pulse of disbelief in the air. Tyler sat there frozen, his face blank, his mouth slightly open, like someone who just realized the oxygen in the room was gone. Emily stared down at her hands. She wasn't shaking anymore, just breathing. For the first time since this entire nightmare began, she looked steady. Judy's voice broke the silence, calm but lethal. Well, she said, it seems we've arrived at the moment where facts finally outrun fiction. Tyler blinked, his voice dry and hoarse. That's not fair. That video, it's real. Judy finished. Yes, quite real. The audience laughed softly, then went quiet again. Judy's tone sharpened. Mr. Ross, you've spent this entire trial trying to convince everyone that your lies are more believable than their eyes. But the truth doesn't bend because you want it to. It doesn't care about your ego. It just shows up. Tyler's jaw tensed. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Judy cut in, her voice rising just enough to command the entire room. You thought you could manipulate the story. You thought charm could erase evidence. You thought control was power. But it's not. Not here. The audience murmured in agreement. Someone whispered, "She's destroying him." Tyler gritted his teeth. "You're making me look like a monster. You're judging me without knowing my side." "Your side has been playing in high definition for the past hour. We've seen it, we've heard it, and it's ugly." He tried to speak again, but Judy raised her hand. "Stop. Just stop. Every word you say digs your hole deeper, and I'm tired of watching you shovel." The audience erupted again, clapping and shouting. Bird turned slightly, hiding a smirk. Judy turned her attention to Emily. Her tone softened. "Miss Carter, I want to say something to you. You've shown tremendous courage walking into this courtroom today. Most people would have stayed silent. You didn't. That matters." Emily nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Thank you, Your Honor." Judy looked back at Tyler. "Mr. Ross, you owe her more than an apology, but I've learned that people like you don't apologize. They perform. So instead of forcing you to pretend, I'll just let this verdict speak for itself." She paused. The room went silent again. Judy reached for the paper in front of her, signed it slowly, and handed it to Bird. "In the case of Emily Carter versus Tyler Ross, judgment is entered for the plaintiff, full damages plus court fees." The audience burst into applause. Tyler's head dropped into his hands. Judy didn't stop there. "And Mr. Ross, consider this your wake-up call. You can keep lying to the world if you want, but the truth has a habit of showing up on camera, and it doesn't need your permission to go viral." Laughter, applause, a few gasps. Emily's smile was small, but real. The weight that had lived in her eyes since the first minute finally seemed to lift. Tyler muttered something under his breath. Bird leaned forward. "What was that?" "Nothing," Tyler snapped. "Good," Judy said, without missing a beat, "because you've already said enough for one lifetime." The entire courtroom laughed again. Judy tapped her pen on the desk once, a signature sound that cut through the noise. "This court is adjourned." The gavel hit. The camera zoomed in on Judy's face, calm, collected, satisfied. Then slowly panned to Emily, who took a deep, steady breath and whispered, "It's over." But as she stood to leave, Tyler looked up. For a moment, his face wasn't angry. It was lost, empty, like a man staring at the ruins of his own making. Judy saw it, and for a fleeting second, even she softened. "Learn something from this, before the next time you ruin someone else's life." He didn't answer, just nodded faintly. The audience began to file out. Reporters whispered. Cameras flashed. Bird walked past Judy's bench, muttering with a grin, "Another one bites the dust." Judy smirked, "And another liar meets reality." The audience laughed one last time. As the courtroom doors closed, the faint sound of clapping echoed from the hallway. Applause not for victory, but for truth. Fade out.